Have you ever wondered why some people thrive in chaos while others meticulously color code their calendars? Or why a simple decision like picking a restaurant can spark an existential crisis for one person but be an instant choice for another? Welcome to the endlessly fascinating world of personality types, where every quirk, preference, and perspective paints the mosaic of who we are. Inside the Mind, how personality types define our choices and connections invites you to step into the colorful realm of human nature. Written and published by Mindful Literary, this book isn't just about categorizing people into neat boxes. It's about decoding the complex, often surprising dynamics that drive our relationships, decisions, and identities. Why personality types matter. In every conversation, every moment of conflict, and every spark of connection, our personality plays a hidden but vital role. From shaping how we approach problems to influencing how we express love, personality is the silent architect of our lives. By understanding these underlying patterns, our own and others, we unlock the ability to navigate the world with greater empathy, confidence, and insight. But let's face it, personality tests can feel like glorified horoscopes without context. That's why this book dives deeper, blending science, psychology, and storytelling to illuminate the true power of understanding personality. Along the way, we'll laugh at our quirks, confront our biases, and discover how these insights can enrich every aspect of our lives. What to expect? This isn't your typical find your type and move on guide. Instead, we'll journey together through the science behind personality, why you are who you are and the factors that shape your unique traits, how personality influences relationships. From love and friendship to workplace dynamics, we'll explore how understanding others can strengthen your connections. Cultural and social layers, how society, upbringing, and even social media mold our personalities and perceptions. Practical tools for growth, strategies to leverage your strengths, overcome challenges, and create harmony with those who see the world differently. A personal journey. Throughout the book, you'll encounter personal anecdotes, relatable scenarios, and a healthy dose of humor, because understanding yourself and others doesn't have to feel like a chore. My own journey through personality tests and self-discovery has been a mix of awkward revelations and transformative insights, and I'm excited to share it with you. So whether you're an introvert curious about your extroverted friends or a thinker baffled by those who feel their way through life, this book is your guide. It's a celebration of the diversity that makes us human, an exploration of the unseen threads that connect us, and an invitation to embrace yourself and others just as you are. Let's dive in. Your personalities waiting to be unlocked. Chapter 1. The Great Personality Quest. What even is a personality type? Personality types are fascinating road signs that help us navigate through the colorful, chaotic terrain of human behavior. Think about it. Every day, we interact with different people, and while some fill our lives with sunshine, others seem determined to rain on our parades. Recognizing personality types isn't just a quirky pastime. It has real implications in how we relate to one another and understand ourselves. Did you ever wonder why someone responds to a stressful situation with laughter while another person crumbles into a ball of anxiety? That's where the magic of personality types comes into play. They help us decode these behaviors, making sense of the seemingly random quirks that shape our relationships, workplace dynamics, and even our own self-perception. Understanding these types gives us a framework for empathy, allowing us to appreciate the complexities of different perspectives. As we dive into the world of personality categorization, you'll find a delightful range of systems from the tried-and-true frameworks of old to the trendy tools that pop up on social media feeds like confetti after a parade. You've probably heard about Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which divides us into 16 playful categories like INFPs and ESTJs. It's like a modern Hogwarts sorting hat for adults who just want to figure out whether they fall into the introverted poet category or perhaps the extroverted commander. Then we have the Enneagram, a spicy little triangle that dances its way through 9 distinct types, each with its motivation and fear. While many of these systems have their quirks and occasional inaccuracies, they serve as jumping-off points for self-discovery and understanding the motivations that drive both ourselves and others. The trick is to engage with these frameworks lightly, allowing them to enhance our lives rather than define them strictly. Last but certainly not least, my favorite part of all this personality exploration is the sprinkle of humor it brings into otherwise serious conversations. Knowing that we all have our own flavor adds a sense of relief and even joy in daily interactions. Feeling overwhelmed? You might just be a classic Type 6, anxiously planning your escape from potential disaster. Or perhaps your friend who enjoys endless debates is channeling their Type 5 energy. Here's a practical tip. Next time you find yourself in an awkward social situation, try to read the room through the lens of personality types. Understanding that someone may not be rejecting your ideas, but merely expressing their own fears can shift how you respond. Personality types are not just boxes to fit into. They are tools that enrich our understanding of ourselves and others, reminding us that there's an entire spectrum of human experience just waiting to be acknowledged and appreciated. My awkward encounter with the Myers-Briggs. My first brush with the Myers-Briggs was like stepping into a funhouse mirror maze. I was in college, curious about anything that promised insight into my personality. I clicked through the questions with optimism, imagining I would emerge as a dignified INTJ or a charismatic ENFP. But what I got was, well, let's just say, it wasn't what I expected. I remember laughing out loud when the result labeled me as an ISFJ, a stereotypical caretaker, supposedly nurturing and organized. I shrugged it off, remembering how I could hardly keep my houseplants alive for more than a week. The real comedy began when I shared my results with friends. They erupted into fits of laughter, insisting that I must have completed the test while half asleep and under the influence of caffeine. The irony wasn't lost on me. The Myers-Briggs test promised clarity, yet here I was, feeling more lost than ever. Each subsequent attempt to retake the test only added to the hilarity. Friends were convinced I was trying to sabotage their perception of me. You can't be an ISFJ. You're only a caretaker when it comes to pizza. They'd quip. My encounters with the Myers-Briggs became a running joke, a source of humor and absurdity that I bonded over with my friends, discussing the effectiveness, or lack thereof, of the Myers-Briggs framework in real-life situations made me question the very validity of the labels we put on ourselves. On one hand, it seemed fascinating to put people into neat boxes based on their preferences. On the other hand, I often felt that these outcomes were far too simplistic for the complexities of real life. My personal experience showed me how one test could lead different individuals down entirely disparate paths. Take, for instance, my roommate, who was also an ISFJ. Our lives were so wildly different that it dawned on me that the framework hardly accounted for nuance. She thrived in structured environments while I was getting lost in a whirlwind of unsorted laundry and spontaneous late-night adventures. The nuances of our lives couldn't possibly be compressed into 4 letters. Even in group projects where our personalities clashed, we often found ourselves laughing about the dichotomy the test presented. Together, we navigated projects more through chaos than any Myers-Briggs guide could recommend. This made me realize that while the Myers-Briggs does provide a fun way to talk about personality, using it as a strict measure of our capabilities or potential can leave us shortchanged. Understanding personality types can be helpful as a light-hearted lens through which we view each other. However, it's crucial to remember that these types are just a starting point for deeper conversations. A critical takeaway here is to use these frameworks to spark discussions rather than strictly define yourself or your relationships. While you might get sorted into caregiver territory like I did, never lose sight of your unique traits and idiosyncrasies that a 4-letter code simply can't capture. Embrace the humor in these tests as insights and strides towards personal growth, rather than strict definitions. After all, the quirks of our personality often make us who we are, and sometimes being labeled an ISFJ can lead to unexpected hilarity. The Personality Type Playlist. What's your theme song? Creating a playlist that reflects our personality types can be one of the most enjoyable and revealing tasks. Think of your theme song as a metaphorical spotlight on your inner self. Are you the type who thrives on the high-energy beats of pop anthems, or do you lean towards the introspective tones of indie ballads? Each song resonates with a different facet of our psyche, painting a picture of our dispositions, quirks, and aspirations. A person who chooses a powerful rock ballad might be seen as a go-getter or someone who's passionate, while another who opts for a calming jazz tune could suggest they're more reflective and easygoing. Start by tossing aside that old guilty pleasure. This is about unveiling who you really are through sound. Now, let's invite some self-reflection. Picture yourself in a moment of triumph or disaster, and what song plays in the background. Think of that song that makes you dance like nobody's watching, or the one that makes you shed a tear without fail. As you consider your ultimate anthem, ask yourself what it says about you. Do you thrive on the adrenaline of upbeat tracks, or do you find comfort in the melodic storytelling of slower tunes? This exercise uncovers more than just personal preference. It highlights your aspirations and fears, your highs and lows. Your theme song isn't just a catchy melody. It encapsulates your journey, your identity. Choosing that song isn't just a fun diversion. It's an insightful glimpse into your personality. To get the most out of this experience, you might want to make it interactive. Create your playlist and share it with friends or family. Have them guess your personality type based solely on the anthems you've chosen. You may discover surprising insights when you hear what they perceive about you versus the identity you've crafted. So, whip out those headphones, dive into those playlists, and let the music guide you on a path of delightful self-discovery. Chapter 2. The Science Behind the Types. Decoding the Science. Nature versus Nurture Showdown. The classic nature versus nurture debate is like a never-ending tug-of-war, with genetics and environment pulling on opposite ends, and somewhere in the middle, you find the messy, vibrant outcome known as personality. It's fascinating to think about the traits we inherit, like our eye color or the uncanny ability to juggle. Thanks, Dad. Then there's the part that molds us through every laugh, every disappointment, and every slice of burnt toast that taught us resilience. In this existential wrestling match, we grapple with questions like, are we inherently predisposed to be introverts or extroverts? Or do our cheerleader parents and spirited childhoods shape us into social butterflies? It turns out the answer is both. Our genes set the stage, but the environment decides the playlist. If you've ever had a family gathering where you felt like the odd sock in a bunch of flowing robes, you might relate to this struggle. Why am I drawn to sarcastic humor while my siblings prefer heartfelt sentiment? The sock puppet genes are strong, but the family dynamic adds a twist. Engaging anecdotes shine a light on the impact of both nature and nurture in shaping our existence. Consider the story of a friend who is the spitting image of his father. Same build, same affinity for dad jokes. From an early age, his environment screamed, "You are destined for crazy humor." His father would crack jokes at breakfast, setting a comedic tone that Josh, that's his name, I promise, embraced like a warm hug. But flip the script to his cousin Mandy, who, despite being a genetic clone of her parents, took a sharp turn into the world of Stoic philosophy. While Josh's humor soared thanks to his father's relentless joking, Mandy's quieter home atmosphere led her to find voice and meaning in silence and reflection. Their lives are like two sides of the same coin, reminding us how genetics can be amplified or subdued by our environments. Every wacky childhood experience contributes to this complex tapestry of human behavior, weaving in both the inherited quirks and the life lessons from our surroundings. Every laugh and every challenge nudges us toward who we ultimately become. As we ponder the nuances of nature versus nurture, it's clear that the harmony lies in their interaction. Embrace the individuality that blooms from both your inherited traits and your unique experiences. If you have a knack for sneaky puns or have a short temper, look at both sides. What have you inherited, and what life experiences have shaped these traits? Life is not either or, it's a glorious blend. A practical tip? Start journaling your experiences and traits that stand out to you. Recognizing your roots can bring clarity and lead to personal growth. So the next time someone asks, is it nature or nurture? You can confidently say, why not both and then some? The role of genetics in personality. Blame your parents. Genetics undoubtedly plays a massive role in crafting our personality. Much like a game of poker where you inherit your cards before you even sit down at the table, the traits we carry are shaped by our family tree. Think about it. Did you ever wonder why you compulsively organize your bookshelf by color, or why you can't resist a good dad joke? Blame your parents. Research suggests that our propensity for traits like extroversion, neuroticism, or even openness to experience can be traced back to our genetic makeup. Twin studies often reveal that identical twins raised apart frequently share similar personality traits, which is a bit eerie but also intriguing. So as you navigate through life, each quirky habit you exhibit is probably a not-so-distant echo of your mom or dad's own peculiarities. What have you inherited that makes you? Well, you? Now, let's sprinkle some humor into this scenario. Imagine sitting across from your family at the Thanksgiving table, a delightful fusion of traits swirling in the room. Your cousin's eye-roll-inducing sarcasm, your aunt's obsessive need for cleanliness, and your uncle's profound ability to retell dad jokes that somehow still manage to elicit a chuckle. It's like being part of a family reunion where each person is a living exhibit in a personality museum, a quirky display of what genetic roulette has bestowed upon you. You may find yourself chuckling as you realize your tendency to fidget during conversations is a delightful inheritance from your hyperactive grandmother. Accepting that we are a product of our genetic legacy can actually be quite liberating. Instead of cringing at our idiosyncrasies, we can embrace them as little reminders of where we came from. It's not just humor, it's a beautiful blend of family traits passed down through generations. In contemplating this genetic connection, it's advantageous to take a step back and appreciate our differences and quirks. Understanding that certain aspects of our personality may be inherited can provide guidance on personal growth. Perhaps that anxious tendency to overthink inherited from your dad can be tempered with mindfulness practices, while the creative streak passed down from your artistic mother can be honed through activities like painting or writing. Recognizing our inherited traits can also foster empathy for our loved ones. After all, if Aunt Mildred insists on arranging the party chairs in a specific order, you know where she's coming from. As you reflect on your own family tree, consider how those traits have shaped who you are, and take a moment to appreciate the quirky wonders of your genetic inheritance. Psychological theories that make you go, Examining psychological theories about personality can feel like stumbling into a bizarre funhouse mirror. Each theory reflects a slightly warped version of what makes us tick, turning our understanding of ourselves on its head. Take Freud's idea of the ID, ego, and superego. Here you are, thinking you're rational and in control, but Freud swoops in with the revelation that you might just be a bundle of conflicting desires and societal expectations battling it out inside your head. The implications are dizzying. If your inner child, guilt, and conscience all pile into the same car, what kind of joyride can we expect? Suddenly, eating 5 slices of cake at a party isn't just a sugar rush. It's an expression of your ID throwing a tantrum while your superego scowls from the passenger seat. Furthermore, consider Carl Jung's concept of the collective unconscious. It suggests that there are universal symbols and themes shared across humanity, archetypes that shape our behavior and emotions. Just imagine that moment when you realize your terrible breakup corresponds perfectly with the archetype of the hero's journey. Instead of just wallowing in your misery, you might begin to view yourself as a misunderstood protagonist battling a dragon named commitment issues. This perspective shifts how we perceive failure and challenges, inviting us to wear our scars like badges of honor. And let's not forget about the implications of cognitive dissonance, where our beliefs and actions clash like stubborn toddlers refusing to share a toy. When faced with the discomfort of conflicting ideas, we scramble to resolve that tension, often at the expense of our original beliefs. It's a wild dance of rationalization where you might find yourself justifying a shopping spree despite swearing you'd save for a vacation. Recognizing this tendency in ourselves and others can open a whole new lens through which to view everyday decisions. We're all just a little more complex, and a lot more humorous than we often acknowledge. Keep this in mind the next time you catch yourself defending an inexplicable choice. You might just be one mini existential crisis away from enlightenment. Chapter 3. Introverts versus Extroverts, the ultimate showdown. The quiet ones. Why introverts are not just shy. Introverts often get a bad rap. Many people simply equate introversion with shyness. This stereotype is not just simplistic, it's wildly inaccurate. Introverts possess rich inner worlds, brimming with thoughts, creativity, and introspection that can often take others aback. When you're quietly observing a bustling social gathering, it's not because you're feeling intimidated. Rather, you're likely caught up in the beauty of life's details, analyzing the ebb and flow of conversation, visualizing the nuances of body language, and formulating insights that would leave most extroverts bewildered. It's as if tightrope walking across the fabric of social dynamics, with a tight grip on your own thoughts. For we quiet ones, social situations might seem like an elaborate performance, and while others are scrambling for center stage, we're backstage crafting the story. And let's be honest, we're comfortable with that role. The inner landscape of an introvert is often more populated than you might think, filled with ideas just waiting for the right moment to emerge. When it comes to social interactions and relationships, introverts bring an entirely different set of strengths to the table. While extroverts shine in group settings, casting wide nets, introverts excel in depth. The ability to connect on a deeper emotional level allows introverts to forge enduring relationships, often built on understanding and empathy. Introverts are active listeners, soaking up conversations like sponges, which makes their responses thoughtful and intentional. They have a knack for making people feel seen and heard, often diving into discussions that others might skim over. An introvert's silence isn't a barrier. It's a space where rich conversations can flourish, allowing others to express themselves freely. This depth reinforces bonds, making interactions more meaningful and lasting. Think of introverts as the hidden gems within the social fabric. They might not always be the loudest voices, but they are the ones filling those delightful silences with profound thoughts and undeniable warmth. To navigate relationships with introverts, remember, sometimes what they don't say speaks louder than words. Take a moment to appreciate the stillness. There's more going on below the surface. Understanding the complexities of introverts can transform how we perceive not just them, but ourselves in social contexts as well. Instead of viewing silence as an awkward void, consider it a valuable tool for introspection and connection. While the world may often celebrate extroversion as the gold standard for social engagement, there's abundance in both approaches. It's essential to embrace the quieter moments. Those are often the ones where true understanding and genuine connection can surface. If you find yourself in a conversation with an introvert, don't rush to fill the silence. Instead, let the quiet linger. You might just be amazed at the depths of thought and insight that follow. The party animals, a day in the life of an extrovert. Living as an extrovert is like being on a perpetual roller coaster of energy and social interaction. Picture this. I wake up to the blaring sound of my favorite playlist, the kind that gets my blood pumping and sets the tone for the day. While the early birds might bask in their solitude, I thrive in the whirlwind of morning mayhem. Coffee in one hand, a phone in the other, I'm already coordinating plans with friends before I've fully committed to consciousness. My day often spirals from one energetic encounter to another, be it an impromptu brunch or an evening filled with laughter and new acquaintances. Chaos becomes my norm, and in the heart of that chaos lies the essence of what makes life thrilling. I relish in unexpected moments, from running into friends on the street to getting swept into spontaneous adventures, because honestly, who doesn't love a little unpredictability? Recharging for me isn't about retreating into silence. It's about diving deeper into social pools that invigorate my spirit. While introverts may find peace in solitude, my battery gets charged in the company of others. It's not just about being around people. It's the interaction, the banter, the shared experiences that leave me glowing. A long day might end with me at a crowded bar, relishing every story shared over clinking glasses, or hosting a lively dinner filled with spirited debates and hearty laughter. After a night like that, I'll crash hard, but it's the kind of blissed-out fatigue that comes from connecting with the world around me. The psychology of being an extrovert reveals a unique wiring. We are energized by the very fabric of social activity. Dive into that world, and you realize it's not just about being loud or lively. It's a pursuit of understanding and connection that fuels our desire to engage. For those who find their own recharge comes from quiet moments, understanding extroverts can offer valuable insights. You don't have to mimic our ways to appreciate them. Just remember that the next time you see an extrovert thrive at a party, they are likely sculpting themselves into a mosaic of experiences that fill them up with joy. And if you're curious about how to balance those energy levels, consider incorporating small doses of social interaction into your routine. A coffee break with a friend or a chat during lunch can serve as the perfect blend of spirited engagement without overwhelming your own natural rhythms. Finding common ground. Are we really that different? People often say that introverts and extroverts are like oil and water. They look at me, the quintessential introvert, shying away from large gatherings, and see my extroverted friends bouncing around, making conversation with ease, and they assume we can't possibly understand each other. But oddly enough, I often find myself in deep, thoughtful discussions with those very extroverts about everything from the meaning of life to the best pizza toppings. It's all about creating harmony. Many think introverts want to hide in their caves, while extroverts thrive on the spotlight. But the truth is, both personality types crave connection. There's something beautifully humorous when I, the introvert, attend a gathering where my extroverted pals shine, and I end up finding the quiet corner where all the interesting conversations happen. Introverts can chime in with depth, while extroverts can spark the conversation, creating a dynamic that benefits everyone. As I delve deeper into this perceived divide, I start noticing some shared traits that tie us together despite our different styles. For one, we both appreciate authentic connections, albeit through different methods. An introvert's small group of close friends often feels like an extrovert's larger network, just seen through a different lens. We both get excited about new ideas, although the introvert might need a little time to process before sharing, while the extrovert might be bouncing ideas off the wall as if they're a human ideation machine. We both might enjoy a good meme or two, and whether it's an internal chuckle from an introvert or loud laughter from an extrovert, joy is universal. It's not bound by personality type. A mutual understanding of emotional cues can propel conversations further than many realize. It's fascinating how the synergy blooms when we acknowledge that our traits can complement each other rather than clash. It's in these moments of shared understanding, humor, and connection that we truly see how alike we are. Chapter 4. The amazing world of sensation versus intuition. Sensation seekers, going with the flow or not. Sensation seekers are those adventurous souls who thrive on excitement and spontaneity. Think of them as the human magnets for adrenaline. They wake up each day like it's a blank canvas, ready to splatter it with the wildest colors of experience. If there's a cliff to jump off, a new cuisine to devour, or a dance floor waiting to be conquered, they are already halfway there, heart racing, ready to embrace whatever comes their way. Among sensation seekers, you'll find a kaleidoscope of personalities. Some have an intuitive knack for finding the most unexpected routes to new experiences, while others plot their adventures like seasoned strategists, meticulous in their planning, yet open to the delightful surprises life offers. Their lives seem to be a continuous party, full of laughter, spontaneity, and occasionally minor chaos. But there's something almost magnetic about their zest for life. They act on impulse, relishing every moment, turning everyday occurrences into epic tales that are shared over drinks later, of course. There's a rhythm to their chaos that keeps others around them guessing and engaged. When it comes to how sensation seekers approach life, it's all about embracing the unknown. They chase thrills like a dog chases a car, with wild abandon and little regard for the outcome. Some people avoid risk for fear of failure or embarrassment, but for these thrill seekers, every leap into the unfamiliar is a chance to grow, learn, and experience something new. They view challenges not as barriers, but as gateways to adventure. This boldness brings out their unique perspective on life, where the only limitations are the ones they impose on themselves. However, not all sensations are equal. Some thrill seekers engage in extreme sports like bungee jumping or rock climbing, while others might find their rush in creating art or diving into intense intellectual debates. The thrill can come from pushing physical boundaries or exploring the often uncharted territories of the mind. Interestingly, while their lives may appear carefree, they also often possess a heightened sense of awareness about their surroundings. A genuine sensation seeker knows that life can be unpredictable, so they remain attuned to the currents of change, ready to adapt and flow with them. If you're looking to capture even a fraction of that adventurous spirit, consider stepping outside your comfort zone. Whether it's trying a bizarre dish you've never heard of or saying yes to an impromptu road trip with friends, small acts of courage can lead to some unforgettable experiences. Start slow. Perhaps it's a new hiking trail or a cooking class in a cuisine you've never explored. Each new experience adds a brushstroke of color to your own life canvas. The essence of being a sensation seeker isn't just about the act of seeking thrills. It's about embracing life's unpredictability and learning to dance with whatever comes next. So who knows? Your next adventure might just be around the corner, waiting for you to say yes to the unexpected. The intuitive thinkers, making connections where they don't exist. Diving into the minds of intuitive thinkers reveals a fascinating world where abstract concepts dance freely and future possibilities morph into vivid imagery. These individuals often surprise themselves with the leaps their minds can take, linking ideas that may seem completely alien to each other at first glance. Take, for instance, the time I was rearranging my sock drawer and suddenly had an epiphany about climate change. Yes, socks. As I matched colors and patterns, I found myself pondering the impact of fashion on ecological footprints. It seems most people only see footwear. To the intuitive thinker, it's a symphony of environmental consequences waiting to be solved. These connections may seem nonsensical, but they highlight an underlying truth. The mind of an intuitive thinker evolves in a playground of possibilities where unrelated concepts are simply different branches of the same tree. Balancing senses. Can we find a middle ground? Exploring the concept of a balanced approach to sensation and intuition reveals an intriguing dance between our logical mind and flights of imagination. It's almost like a bickering couple at a dinner party. One, the sensible sage, insists on practical matters like the right wine pairing, while the other swoons over the idea of a cake shaped like a unicorn. Our daily decisions often swing between these two extremes. Sometimes logic wins the day, insisting on the safest route through life, while other times, intuition takes the lead, like a wild child diving headfirst into the unknown. The magic happens when we learn to appreciate the value each brings, crafting a life that is rich in both grounded reality and whimsical dreams. Mixing logic with imagination, much like a painter blending colors, enables us to create a masterpiece of experiences that are both fulfilling and adventurous. To cultivate both sides of your personality is like nurturing a garden where sunflowers, representing logical thought, and wildflowers, symbolizing intuition, can coexist. One fun exercise is to take a day and observe everything you do with a comedic twist. Try approaching mundane tasks, like grocery shopping, with the playful spirit of a spontaneous improvisation session. As you stroll down the aisles, imagine you are hunting for treasures instead of groceries. Picture the avocados as rare gems and the cereal aisle as an enchanted forest. This lighthearted lens allows you to exercise your imaginative side while still achieving practical outcomes. Additionally, engage in creative writing exercises where you blend factual accounts with whimsical storytelling. Describe a day in your life, but exaggerate the details and let your imagination run wild. Turn a trip to the post office into a heroic quest or an office meeting into a wild summit of ideas. These activities can help stretch your typical patterns of thinking, merging the straight lines of logic with the delightful curves of creativity. By regularly practicing balancing these two approaches, you not only enrich your own experience, but also become more adaptable in facing life's challenges. It's about finding the sweet spot where rational thought doesn't suppress creativity, and artistic impulses don't throw you into chaos. A practical tip to help you maintain this balance is to set aside time each week for both types of activities. Dedicate certain hours for logical tasks, like budgeting or planning, and other times for creative pursuits, like painting or brainstorming wild ideas. Embrace both sides of yourself, and you'll find that the intersection of senses and intuition leads to a fuller, more vibrant life experience. Chapter 5. Thinking versus feeling, the heart and mind debate. Logic versus emotion, the eternal tug-of-war. The battle between logic and emotion is as old as time itself. Picture this. Your head is like a stern school principal, laying down the rules and facts. On the other hand, your heart is the rebellious student, filled with passion and spontaneity. Sometimes they seem to be working harmoniously, like a well-tuned duet. However, more often, it's a full-blown opera of chaos. Let's face it, who wins in the end? Sure, logic tells us to save that extra cash for a rainy day, but when your favorite band announces a surprise concert, your emotional side screams, "Buy the ticket now." This epic showdown plays out in grocery aisles, financial decisions, and even in the choice of whether to binge-watch that new series or actually go to bed on time. Spoiler alert, neither side emerges completely victorious. They both make their cases, and we often find ourselves in the middle, playing referee, trying to strike a balance between the need for rationality and the allure of our whims. Reflecting on my daily life, I can recount many moments where this tug-of-war has turned into a comedy show. Take, for instance, the time when I had to decide between attending my best friend's wedding or an all-you-can-eat buffet that was just too good to pass up. Logic reminded me of the importance of friendship and the heartfelt vows I really shouldn't miss. Yet, the thought of mountains of food practically singing my name had my stomach plotting a coup against my reason. I went back and forth, practically pacing a hole in the floor, until I realized I could just eat a little something before the ceremony. In the end, I managed to enjoy both the wedding's love-filled atmosphere and a well-fueled after-party with friends. A perfect example of how sometimes logic can bend to emotion and vice versa. Understanding this dynamic has opened up a treasure trove of insights into my life choices. I've learned to approach decision-making as a negotiation rather than a conflict. When faced with a tough choice, it helps to visualize both sides debating it out in my mind. Picture them sitting at a table, tossing ideas around like seasoned lawyers. I encourage everyone to tune into this internal dialogue. Embrace the craziness of your emotions while still acknowledging the wisdom of logic. Perhaps the key takeaway really lies in finding that sweet spot in between. After all, who doesn't want to enjoy life fully while making smart choices? When logic and emotion collaborate rather than clash, the best decisions sprout from the union of our darkest impulses and our brightest thoughts. And that's where the real magic happens. When to listen to your feelings, spoiler, all the time. Intuition and feelings are like the garment we wear for our emotional landscape. When I think back to times I've ignored my gut feeling, it usually leads to a round of "what was I thinking?" We all have those moments when we act against what our feelings are nudging us to do, like deciding to go out with friends when every fiber of our being is screaming to stay home and binge-watch that show. Genuine connections with others often sprout from a soil rich in authenticity, and that authenticity can only thrive when we allow ourselves to listen to our feelings. Whether it's the pit in your stomach telling you to steer clear of a particular situation or the warm fuzzies urging you to reach out to an old friend, those feelings matter. They can cue us into understanding not just ourselves, but also how others are feeling. It's like being plugged into a universal empathy socket. When we trust our feelings, we create dialogues that are true and meaningful rather than just polite exchanges. Embracing our emotional side without shrugging it off allows for richer experiences. One day, I found myself making a hasty decision to dive into a conversation, fueled by excitement yet shaken by anxiety. I chuckled at how ridiculous I felt, but guess what? That chat led to my best social connection of the year. That's the beauty of surrendering to our emotions. It's vital to suspend judgment and simply be with what we feel. Sometimes, feeling a bit cheesy or over the top is just a gateway to genuine connection. Instead of hiding behind a wall of stoicism, why not greet our emotions like old friends? Each feeling, even the complicated ones, brings a lesson. So, next time you feel a punch of excitement or a wave of dread, consider that moment a chance to connect more deeply with yourself and the world around you. Stop dismissing those thoughts that flutter through your mind like a misplaced butterfly. They're there for a reason. Start taking little steps to honor your feelings, maybe jotting them down in a journal or chatting with someone who's a good listener. This practice can be incredibly transformative, paving the way for emotional clarity and healthier interactions. Remember, it's okay to feel your feelings, whatever they may be. The next time you're in a situation that doesn't sit well with you, pay attention to those feelings. They could be pointing you toward a path that leads to something wonderful. Finding harmony, bridging the gap between thoughts and feelings. Balancing thinking and feeling is like walking a tightrope while juggling. You can't just focus on one side or the other. If you do, you'll undoubtedly tumble off into the abyss of confusion or emotional chaos. I remember the first time I faced a difficult decision. I was torn between what my head was telling me and what my heart desired. It was ridiculous and funny in hindsight, like watching a sitcom where the lead character flails about trying to decide between tacos or salad. Strategies to find that balance can transform these chaotic moments into thoughtful, deliberate choices. One practical approach is to practice mindfulness. It sounds fancy, but really, it's just taking a moment to pause and observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment. It's amazing how a few deep breaths can create a little space between the whirlwind in your mind and the storm in your heart, allowing you to see things clearly. Another effective technique is journaling. Getting your thoughts and feelings down on paper often reveals patterns you didn't notice before and helps to clarify what truly matters to you in any situation. Integrating our thoughts and feelings leads to profound growth and improved relationships. When we manage to harmonize the two, we unlock potential that lies dormant, waiting for us to break these dual chains. Imagine being in a heated argument with a loved one, and instead of firing back with rational arguments, you acknowledge your feelings and their feelings. Suddenly, instead of escalating the drama to epic proportions, you create a safe space to communicate. The benefits extend far and wide. Your relationships deepen, you begin to understand yourself better, and you gain confidence in your decision-making. Personal growth is an exciting journey filled with discoveries, much like trying out a new recipe where you might end up creating a dish that is a delightful accident. It helps you cultivate empathy and a better understanding of others, which is invaluable in today's fast-paced world where everyone seems to be in their heads all the time. As you navigate through life's waves of thoughts and emotions, try referring back to your unique blend of reasoning and feeling during decision-making moments. Remember that your feelings are valid and deserve recognition, while your thoughts are powerful and guide actions. The ultimate trick is to treat both as partners in your life story rather than adversarial forces. Striving for this equilibrium can be your secret sauce for a fulfilling life. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what does my heart say alongside what does my mind think? It's a small, yet powerful, question that can lead to a newfound harmony. Chapter 6. Judging versus Perceiving, Navigating the World. The Planners. How to organize your life and still go crazy. Living life as a planner can feel like riding a roller coaster designed by a mad scientist who once ditched their plans to start a spontaneous circus. There I was color-coding my calendar, creating timelines for every possible weekday scenario, and plotting out my meals for the next fortnight. Friends would often joke about my elaborate systems, as if I were a wall calendar with legs, clumsily navigating their chaotic, beautiful disarray. Sure, I took pride in my meticulously organized Excel spreadsheets, while my friends would show off their productive chaos. But there came a point where my need for structure led me down a rabbit hole. Instead of solving the great puzzle of life, I accidentally manufactured my own delightful madness. You know how they say that too much of a good thing can be bad? When you overapply judgment and structure, your plans can quickly devolve from strategic organization to an anxiety-inducing mess. It's like aiming to create a masterpiece, and instead being left with splatters of paint resembling an abstract scream. The downside of being overly organized is real, and I learned it the hard way. There I was, meticulously filing every document, every recipe, every thought in neat little boxes, only to find my stress levels skyrocketing when something unexpected popped up. It's fascinating how a little hiccup, like forgetting an important meeting or a spontaneous lunch invitation, can throw off even the best-laid plans. I remember a day when a sudden downpour marked my meticulously plotted picnic. I stood staring at my finely crafted cheese board selection in the kitchen while the rain absolutely obliterated my outdoor plans. It was a moment of clarity wrapped in mozzarella and despair. Overorganization had spoiled my joy of spontaneity. Coping with the unexpected means relinquishing control a little, which, ironically, can free you in ways you never imagined. Sometimes, it's okay to throw your planner out the window, metaphorically speaking, of course, and let life sweep you off your feet instead of dragging you behind a meticulously organized schedule. In navigating this wild balance between planning and living, I came up with a little trick to keep myself grounded: the 5-minute rule. This simple guideline allows me to designate 5 minutes each day to embrace spontaneity. Whether it's stepping out for an unplanned coffee break or choosing the dish that catches my eye rather than following my meal-prepped routine, these moments add unexpected joy to my life. Planning is essential, but too much rigidity can lead to a self-imposed prison of your own making. Sometimes, the best plans are the ones you haven't made yet, which can lead to enlightening and often hilarious discoveries that color your daily grind. So go ahead, pull the trigger on that unplanned adventure and savor the chaos. After all, the best stories often come from the moments that weren't even on our agendas. The Spontaneity Masters, embracing the chaotic flow. Adventurous spirits thrive on the thrill of the unknown, finding joy in the unpredictable rhythms of life. People who perceive the world through a flexible lens are often the life of the party, the ones likely to toss out the menu on a whim and opt for a surprise road trip instead. This spontaneity is not just about being adventurous. It's a refreshing approach to existence that encourages adaptability and living in the moment. The world becomes a playground, and every twist and turn is an invitation to explore. Yet, there's a delicate balance to maintain. The thrill can quickly turn into chaos if responsibilities are ignored. Reflecting on my own experiences, I remember the time I decided to join friends on a last-minute skydiving trip. The rush was electrifying, but I had neglected a looming deadline for work. Amidst the free-falling excitement, the thought of unfinished tasks tugged at my mind like a parachute that refused to deploy. It certainly taught me that while adventure is vital, so is accountability. Enhancing spontaneity while managing responsibilities is a delicate art form. One key strategy is to create pockets of free time, allowing yourself the freedom to break from routine without guilt. Think of it as scheduling spontaneous adventures. Block out a few hours in your week to say yes to whatever comes your way. It's important to have a solid foundation. Without the stress of overdue chores or obligations hanging over your head, you can embrace the chaos with open arms. Empowering yourself with basic time management skills will help too. I've learned that setting reminders or keeping a calendar can be my best friends, reminding me that certain tasks need my attention so I can soar into the impulsive fun afterward without worry. Additionally, surrounding yourself with like-minded souls who appreciate spontaneity can be incredibly energizing. Their excitement can amplify your adventurous spirit and support your moments of chaos. Maximizing your spontaneity doesn't have to mean neglecting responsibilities. Rather, it's about integrating both into a harmonious existence. Embrace the notion of structured spontaneity. Plan for unplanned activities by ensuring you are prepared beforehand. Keeping a bag filled with essentials for impromptu outings or having a mental checklist of manageable tasks can lighten your load. Flipping the script on how you perceive your schedule can add an exhilarating twist to daily life, reminding you that every unplanned dance in the kitchen or sudden movie marathon counts as a mini adventure. The key takeaway is to cherish those moments of chaos while not losing sight of the tasks that keep your life afloat. After all, the best adventures often emerge precisely when we balance that wild spirit with a sprinkle of responsibility. Merging methods, structured flexibility. Is it possible? Life can feel like a tightrope walk between planning everything down to the last detail and going with the flow like a leaf on a breeze. I found myself twisting in the wind, grappling with planning, my trusty safety net, and spontaneity, which is like that wild friend who suggests an impromptu road trip at 3 a.m. Sometimes I marvel at how often we cling to our meticulously crafted agendas while secretly wishing for that spark of adventure. It's like choosing between an organized library and a messy but vivacious bookstore. They both offer unique experiences, but one makes you feel comfortably in control while the other tantalizes with unpredictability. During my journey, I discovered that merging these two vastly different worlds might just be the secret to a balanced, fulfilling life. Imagine a day laid out like a vivid quilt, each square neatly stitched, yet still able to shift and sway with the day's whims. To let structure and spontaneity coexist, you can sprinkle a bit of randomness into your routine. Picture this: you have your weekly planner, each hour carefully accounted for, but maybe leave a few blank spots labeled surprise. Invite spontaneity into these untouched spaces, perhaps knowing that on Friday at 4 p.m., you might end up enjoying a cupcake in a park instead of sitting in traffic. Scheduling spontaneity sounds a bit counterproductive, doesn't it? But in reality, it's creating a canvas that allows life to paint vibrant moments that you hadn't anticipated. Allowing unplanned moments doesn't negate your structure, it enhances it. For every scheduled meeting, there's space for a coffee catch-up with a friend you've been dying to see or a spontaneous trip to that new exhibit that just opened. This isn't just about making time for fun. It's about giving your life a dynamic to bounce between the known and the unknown, creating a rhythm that feels both comforting and exciting. In the end, seeking structured flexibility is about shaping your own adventure. You can create guidelines or loose frameworks while remaining open to the unexpected. Start small. Swap your Saturday chores for a last-minute road trip, or reframe your planning sessions as brainstorming adventures where ideas are born from a casual chat. Embracing the idea of yes and where you accept the plan but let it evolve into something else can be your gateway to a more joyfully chaotic life. Remember, life is less about the destination and more about the music you dance to along the way. So, keep your planner handy, but don't be afraid to toss it aside for a spontaneous soiree under the stars. You might just find that these unexpected twists bring more color to your life than any plan ever could. Chapter 7. Enneagram Essentials. Discovering your inner number. What's in a number? Understanding your Enneagram type. The Enneagram is like a unique personality map, layered with depth and prose that is both accessible and hilariously intricate. Each of the 9 Enneagram types represents a different way of perceiving and reacting to the world, much like how we all view a painting from our unique angle. Each personality type has its own quirks, strengths, and pitfalls, allowing us to not only understand ourselves, but also to appreciate the beautiful chaos that is human interaction. Delving into these types can reveal the patterns that dictate our habitual behaviors, driving home the idea that there is much more beneath the surface than meets the eye. When we know our type, we start to recognize those pesky little tendencies that turn our lives into a theatrical performance. Sometimes comedic, sometimes dramatic, but always educational. Exploring your own Enneagram type can be like a scavenger hunt for your soul. Picture yourself alongside a charmingly misaligned comedian, a Type 7, who enthusiastically tries to convince you that life is one big adventure, filled with laughter and sheer chaos. Or maybe you see yourself as a solid and dependable Type 6, whose primary concern is ensuring that the world doesn't come crashing down around you. Perhaps you'll encounter a Type 4, dramatically expressive and perpetually pondering their existential fashion crisis, making you laugh and cringe at the same time. Each type presents an engaging case study in the quirks we all possess. By putting yourself in these archetypal shoes, you may find moments of hilarity as you confront your own personality traits, admitting that yes, you sometimes overthink, or conversely, that you leap boldly into situations without a second thought. Embrace the playful journey of self-discovery that the Enneagram offers. This system encourages a blend of reflection and humor, providing you with the tools to observe your reactions, your motivations, and those of others around you. Understanding your type not only sheds light on personal frustrations, but can also be the key to navigating relationships more smoothly. If you find yourself clashing with a Type 1's idealistic view of the world, you might come to appreciate their dedication to improvement while recognizing your own need for spontaneity. Humor and acceptance can turn the act of understanding yourself into a delightful endeavor, allowing you to appreciate not just who you are, but also the wonderfully colorful tapestry of personalities surrounding you. Next time you find yourself in a sticky interpersonal situation, remember, everyone's just playing their role in this magnificent drama called life, and with a bit of laughter, even the most trying moments can become profound learning experiences. The curious case of wings. Why wings matter. Wings in the Enneagram are like those delightful sprinkles on a cupcake, seemingly small, but they add so much flavor and character. Each Enneagram type has the option of leaning into one of two adjacent types, and these are called wings. By exploring the nuances that wings bring, we discover that the richness of our personality extends beyond our core type. For instance, if you're a Type 2, the helper, and your wing is a Type 3, the achiever, you might exhibit a more ambitious and status-oriented side, blending warmth with a desire for recognition. This little twist can create a multidimensional personality that impacts how you view the world and interact with those around you. Understanding your wings and the wings of others can lead to deeper insights into personal behaviors and motivations, which is like finding an extra piece of chocolate in a cookie, delightful and unexpected. Now let's sprinkle in some humor because honestly, who doesn't need a laugh while unpacking something as complex as personality? It's like realizing that your wing is more of a quirky sidekick rather than a formidable superhero. Think of it this way. If a Type 7, the enthusiast, taps into their Type 6 wing, they might become the fun police, who not only wants a spontaneous adventure, but also carries an emergency backpack filled with snacks, maps, and a contingency plan. Just imagine a lively party where one friend is the wild card and lets their 7 nest shine, while their 6 wing starts fretting about the exact time the local pizza place closes. This blend can be both humorous and enlightening, demonstrating how wings manage to influence our relationships. They perfectly illustrate how two sides can exist in us, like that feeling of excitement and panic when you realize you've backed into the wrong driveway at a party. Lots of laughter, but a moment of, what was I thinking? Understanding the concept of wings is not only crucial for self-discovery, but also for empathy towards others. It's easy to misinterpret someone's actions when we don't consider their wings. Perhaps that intense friend who seems overly competitive is actually just tapping into their achiever side while also wrestling with their helper wing's desire for approval. By recognizing these dynamics, we foster better communication and stronger relationships. A practical tip? When you find someone's behavior puzzling, take a step back and think, what might they be dealing with from their wing? Embrace the messiness of personality. It's not just about identifying your type. It's about appreciating the full spectrum of who we are and how joyously chaotic personalities can be. Because after all, we all have our own unique wings carrying us through life. Stress and growth, your number's worst and best days. Investigating how different Enneagram types respond to stress and challenges reveals some fascinating insights into human behavior. As someone who's dabbled in the art of self-discovery through the Enneagram, I've experienced the wild roller coaster of stress that comes with each type. For example, type 1s, with their perfectionist tendencies, often spiral into a world of frustration when things go awry. The chaos can lead them to resemble a pressure cooker on the brink, ready to explode over a misplaced paperclip. On the flip side, type 7s might respond to stress by diving into distraction, flitting from one mini adventure to another as they try to outrun those pesky feelings. It's fascinating to see how our numbers define our reactions. Each type seems to have a unique flair, like a sitcom with an ensemble cast all reacting differently to the same stressful situation, full of comedic moments and head-scratching decisions. Highlighting growth opportunities, it becomes clear that navigating tough days requires a keen eye for the learning moments that stress can offer. Those moments when I've felt utterly defeated also turned out to be the ones that pushed me toward growth. For type 3s, the pressure to succeed can feel overwhelming, but acknowledging the need to rest can unlock new levels of self-understanding and authenticity. It's like an epiphany wrapped in a snooze button. For type 9s, who often strive for peace, tough days can lead them to assert themselves in ways they never thought possible. I've found that embracing these challenges, rather than avoiding them, can open doors to opportunities one never knew were there, and finding humor in the chaos becomes an essential tool for keeping my sanity intact. Throughout these experiences, I've learned that managing stress isn't about eliminating it, but rather about shifting perspective and accessing our inner resources. A wise friend once told me that stress is like a wild wave. While you can't control its arrival, you can learn to ride it. My practical tip? Keep a journal to track your reactions during stressful times. Reflection can turn a jumbled mess into a treasure trove of insights. It's the secret sauce that turns your worst days into powerful growth experiences, making every struggle a stepping stone toward discovering the best parts of yourself. Chapter 8. The Curious Case of Compatibility. Love at First Type. Do personalities always click? Understanding personality compatibility in romantic relationships can feel as perplexing as assembling furniture from a certain Swedish store without the instructions. Sometimes, you think your perfectly assembled love life is unstoppable, only to find the pieces don't quite fit together the way you imagined. There's a wealth of theories and models out there, from the Myers-Briggs type indicator to the Enneagram, each suggesting that certain types of personalities naturally mesh better than others. You might find yourself wondering, is my extroverted self destined to clash with a laid-back introvert, or can we bridge that gap? Take me, for example. I once dated an analytical, detail-oriented engineer who thrived on process and structure. Everything had its place, from our dinner dates to how our weekends were meticulously scheduled. I, on the other hand, was a hopeless free spirit, plunging headfirst into adventures that often lacked any semblance of an agenda. Despite our intense love for each other, our personality clash revealed itself in trivial but hilarious ways, like the great "what's on the menu" debate during our first vacation. I insisted on wandering into a new spot just because I felt like it, while he was clutching a meticulously organized list of eateries we were going to try. Spoiler alert, neither of us fully relented. When personality types clash, the results can be downright comedic. Picture this. I was on a first date with someone whose personality type screamed high-strung overachiever. We decided to hit a local trivia night, which was where I mistakenly thought I could impress him by being the most fun person in the room. Little did I know, as soon as the questions started flying, my on-the-spot answers led to some very raised eyebrows. I energetically offered my guesses for bizarre trivia about medieval history, while he nervously fretted over the correct answers. By the end of the night, we weren't just competing against other tables. We were living a sitcom scenario where my whimsical spontaneity danced awkwardly around his academic rigor. It's funny how these obligations of personality often manifest in social situations, like when my easygoing friend tried to plan a surprise birthday party for his notoriously high-maintenance girlfriend. The whole ordeal turned into a comedy of errors, as his laid-back approach collided spectacularly with her desire for everything to go off without a hitch. Decorations that were just fine, in his eyes, were met with dramatic gasps from her, and by the end, we weren't sure if we were throwing her a party or staging a scene from a reality show. The unpredictability of pairing different personalities can lead to surprising outcomes, making relationship dynamics both a puzzle and a laugh fest. Embracing the quirks and humor in personality clashes can lead to some of the most memorable stories. Instead of focusing solely on compatibility, why not cherish those baffling moments where your differences shine? After all, relationships should include a bit of laughter over the unpredictability we each bring to the table. Try to find the humor in those traits that seem most annoying, because sometimes those bizarre instances reveal deeper truths about connection and acceptance. Friendships through the lens of personality, making it work. Understanding different personality types can be like having a cheat sheet for friendships. Each personality, ranging from the chatty extrovert to the contemplative introvert, brings its own flavor to a relationship. When two people with different personalities connect, it can either create a beautiful harmony or a chaotic discord. For example, the assertive personality may inadvertently steamroll over a more sensitive friend. This can lead to misunderstandings, where one feels overwhelmed and the other feels frustrated about the lack of enthusiasm. But when you recognize these differences, you can navigate the murky waters of friendship with humor and grace. Knowing that your friend gets energized by social gatherings while you thrive in quiet nights at home allows both parties to compromise and appreciate what the other brings to the table. Reflecting on my friendships, I remember my extroverted friend Jenna. When we first met, I kept my social distance, unsure about her boisterous laughter and constant chatter. I considered myself an ambivert, sitting comfortably between the two extremes. One fateful Friday evening, Jenna showed up at my door, bursting with excitement and dragging me to a party. I didn't want to go, but decided to give it a shot. At the party, I was initially overwhelmed by a sea of loud voices and bright lights. But as I watched Jenna effortlessly connect with everyone, I realized how energizing her passion was. After a few obligatory small talk rounds, we ended up on the couch with a group of quiet thinkers, which is where I felt right at home. That's when our dynamic clicked. We learned to appreciate our differences. She brought spontaneity, while I offered a calm retreat. Together, we balanced each other out beautifully. Friendship dynamics can often feel like a comedic play with unexpected twists. Each personality type injects its worries, strengths, and quirks into the mix. For instance, my analytical friend Ben would often create spreadsheets to track our hangouts, something that initially drove me crazy. Yet it was this very habit that informed me when I needed to crack a joke or be supportive during tough times. The meticulous details of our time spent together showed me he truly valued our friendship. Humor always served as a bridge to understanding one another better. So when you find yourself tangled in friendship complexities, remember to embrace the quirks of each personality. The essence of relationships lies in laughter, support, and a willingness to adapt. It's in the quirky habits and hilarious misunderstandings that friendships find their groundwork. So next time you're navigating personality clashes, remember, a little humor goes a long way and might just turn a stumbling block into an inside joke. Workplace dynamics. When personalities collide or connect. Analyzing personality interactions in the workplace is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Just when you think you've got a grip on one side, another faces the opposite direction, leaving you spinning in a whirl of confusion and frustration. Picture this. There's the charismatic extrovert who can charm the coffee machine into giving them an extra shot of espresso, and then there's the meticulous introvert who needs every stapler aligned perfectly on the desk. These contrasting personalities can either mesh together to create an unstoppable force or clash like titans in an epic battle over who gets to decide the lunch order. So, how do these interactions play out? On one hand, you have collaboration opportunities where diverse skills complement each other, like a finely tuned band where each instrument adds its own flavor. On the other hand, when egos bump, it can lead to confrontations that make you question your life choices, especially when someone forgets to mute their Zoom during a heated discussion. Navigating a workplace filled with evolving personalities requires more finesse than trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle. Understanding diverse personality types is key. One strategy is to recognize and respect differences, especially in communication styles. If you've got a team member who speaks their mind louder than a rock concert, don't shy away from engaging them in discussions. They might just spark ideas you hadn't considered. Conversely, with those who are quieter, ensure you're providing a safe space for them to bloom. Try inviting them into conversations, perhaps over a cup of coffee or during brainstorm sessions when the pressure is low. Practicing empathy can go a long way. Take a moment to put yourself in their shoes. You'll find that sometimes, What seems like an annoying quirk could just be a different way of processing the world. A fun little piece of advice. Consider personality profiles, not as labels, but as colorful threads weaving the tapestry of your work life. Use tools like the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator or even simple weirdness scales where teams rate each other's quirks with playful banter to lighten the mood. This can open up dialogues about differences while instilling a sense of camaraderie. Remember to have a sense of humor. One day you might click ridiculously with the nitpicker over lunch, and the next day have a hilariously awkward silence with the big talker. Every click and clash is a chance to evolve and adapt. Embrace these dynamics, and you'll transform the workplace into a vibrant playground where collaboration thrives and conflicts fizzle out quicker than a soda left open overnight. Chapter 9. The Role of Culture in Personality. East meets West, a cultural perspective on personalities. As I stroll through the busy streets of a typical Eastern market, the colors, sounds, and smells swirl around me like the vibrant brushstrokes of a master painter's canvas. Each person I encounter seems to embody a unique personality that is often shaped by their cultural background. Culture doesn't just pad our experiences with traditions and ways of life. It seeps into our very personalities, influencing how we express ourselves and perceive those around us. For instance, in many Western cultures, individualism is celebrated, whereas Eastern cultures often emphasize collectivism. This fundamental difference can lead to drastically different personality types and interpersonal dynamics. I once wandered into a cafe in Tokyo and overheard a lively discussion. The participants engaged in animated chatter, laughter bubbling forth, but it was peppered with subtle deference. I noticed that this social dance was not about one-upping each other or hogging the spotlight. Rather, it was a careful choreography of respect and harmony, a reflection of the cultural values at play. Cross-cultural examples abound when we dig into the wild spectrum of personality expressions. Picture this: a brash New Yorker confidently striding into a room, ready to conquer the world with a booming voice and assertive gestures. That's typical American bravado. Now, imagine someone from a more reserved culture, like Japan, entering the same space. They'd probably greet the room with a gentle bow, speaking softly and choosing their words carefully, mindful of harmony and the feelings of others. The humor in these contrasts often lies in the misunderstandings that arise. One time, during a school exchange, I witnessed a lively clash. A French student, typically animated and expressive, was baffled when a Chinese student seemed uninterested because he didn't maintain eye contact. They both felt misunderstood, but their responses reflected their cultural conditioning. These anecdotes reveal just how deeply ingrained our cultural backgrounds are and how they shape everything from our daily interactions to our overarching worldviews. Understanding these cultural nuances isn't just academic, it's practical. In a globalized world, recognizing how personality is influenced by culture can significantly enhance our communication and relationships. Next time you find yourself in a conversation that feels off kilter, consider the backgrounds involved. A sprinkle of humor doesn't hurt either. Make a light-hearted observation about the apparent differences and watch as laughter becomes a bridge across those cultural divides. This practice not only deepens our connections with others, but it also enriches our understanding of the beautiful tapestry of human personality. Embrace the differences, laugh off the misunderstandings, and remember, we are all products of our unique backgrounds, stitched together by the threads of our experiences and cultures. Social norms and how they shape us, the personality ripple effect. Social norms are like the invisible fence we didn't ask to be put up around our personalities. From the moment we're born, these norms start shaping us, gently nudging our behaviors and traits in particular directions. Think about the way we learn to smile at strangers, nod politely, or even the way we dress for different occasions. Each of these actions is governed by rules we didn't formally sign up for, but somehow absorb through observation and participation. As I reflect on my own journey, the influence of these unwritten guidelines becomes clear. For instance, I always felt obligated to partake in small talk at parties, despite my introverted tendencies. It's a classic case of personality conflicting with the pressure to conform. Sometimes I felt like a poorly programmed robot, just following the social code without understanding why. As these norms saturate our interactions, they don't merely influence our choices. They can actually dictate the fundamental aspects of our identity. Are we assertive, or do we shift towards agreeability because the group requires it? Over time, our personalities adjust to fit the mold, aware that this transformation occurs under the scrutiny of societal expectations. It's a slippery slope where we can easily lose ourselves in the need to be accepted. Now let's pivot to humor, because honestly, social expectations can get downright absurd. Have you ever noticed how everyone's brimming with advice on how to be yourself, while simultaneously dictating what being yourself looks like? It's as if there's a secret handbook we're all supposed to follow, with chapters on how to laugh at the right moments or make small talk about the weather without sounding like a robot. I stumbled into a situation once where a friend insisted I join a silent retreat. Imagine a gathering of people, all silently judging each other without saying a word. It hit me then. Are we really so conditioned to need an experience that looks introspective? The unspoken rule was clear. To truly be seen as socially aware, one must also engage in deep silence among strangers. The irony was palpable. These peculiar social expectations seem to exist solely to keep us on our toes, nudging our personalities into behaviors that retain the social order. A friend once joked that attending these events felt like being part of an awkwardly silent improv comedy. Everyone was waiting for someone to break the silence, and when someone did, the laughter wasn't at the punchline but rather at the shared relief. Understanding these dynamics gives us a unique edge. It allows us to observe our behaviors as products of these social influences without being enslaved by them. One practical takeaway here is to cultivate self-awareness around our actions and choices. Ask yourself if you're genuinely engaging with the world or merely dancing to the tune of the social norm. Let humor be your guide. Whenever you catch yourself in strange social situations, take a step back and laugh at the absurdity of it all. This simple act not only diffuses the pressure, but can help you reclaim parts of your personality that might have bowed under societal expectations. Every moment of self-discovery is a chance to redefine your relationship with social norms. It all starts with a little bit of introspection and a sprinkle of laughter. Nurtured or natured? A cross-cultural examination. The age-old debate about whether our personalities are shaped more by genetics or the environment is like a never-ending game of tug-of-war played across different cultures. On one side, we have the proponents of nature, who argue that our genetic makeup lays the groundwork for who we are, right down to our quirks and preferences. On the other side, the nurturers insist that it's the environment, the upbringing, the cultural context, the experiences that mold us into the individuals we become. This dance between nature and nurture is fascinating, especially when you zoom in on different cultures. For instance, in collectivist societies, people might be more inclined to conformity and harmony, while individualistic cultures might push for self-expression and independence. Let's not forget the humor in it all. I've seen people debate whether my obsession with collecting quirky mugs is a genetic trait from my coffee-loving ancestors or the result of growing up in a culture that celebrates unique collectibles. In truth, our personalities often emerge from a blend of our genes and the colorful environments we navigate. As readers ponder this rich tapestry of influence on personality development, it's important to take a moment and reflect on our own cultural backgrounds. What mental blueprints did your culture hand you? Did your family value education, encouraging you to become the studious type, or did playful creativity take the front seat, giving you the freedom to explore odd hobbies like collecting vintage bottles? Acknowledging these influences can be quite the eye-opener. It might even lead to some funny realizations about why we find joy in the things we do. Perhaps you'll learn that a penchant for spicy food doesn't just stem from your taste buds, but from a family tradition of fiercely bold flavors that raised you. It's a bit like a puzzle where every piece matters, and the picture only becomes clearer once you appreciate each piece's significance. Understanding the intricate web of influences shaping our personalities can provide valuable insights, particularly when we venture into new cultural spaces. For instance, if you're traveling to a different country, it might be enlightening to ask yourself how the customs there might challenge or complement your own personality traits. Engaging with different cultures can lead to some intriguing confrontations with your own ideals and behaviors. So, the next time you find yourself in a cross-cultural situation, take a moment to recognize the mixture of your nature and nurture while also appreciating the amusing differences that might arise. Embrace the chaos of personality development and remember, whether we're more nurtured or natured, we all contribute to the wonderfully diverse human experience. Chapter 10. Personality Types in Crisis, Coping Mechanisms. How different types react to stress. A funny perspective. Stress is that cheeky little gremlin that sneaks up when least expected, turning ordinary situations into a comedic spectacle. Each personality type has its own unique way of handling the tension, often revealing quirks and tendencies that are downright entertaining to witness. Take, for instance, the quintessential Type A personality. When faced with a deadline, they're bouncing off the walls like a pogo stick that's lost its bounce. They clutch their coffee like a lifeline, eyes bulging as they frantically organize papers into what they deem the perfect system. A task as chaotic as a squirrel in a nut factory. Meanwhile, the laid-back Type B may not even flinch when chaos descends. They approach stress with the nonchalance of a cat lounging in a sunny spot, blissfully unaware of the impending doom of deadlines or overflowing inboxes. It's a bit like watching an eager puppy chase its tail while a tornado brews in the background, pure comedy gold. A few years back, I found myself in a particularly chaotic work environment during a product launch. The Type A project manager, let's call her Lisa, was on the verge of a caffeine-driven meltdown. She was engulfed in spreadsheets, practically speaking in Excel formulas, her eyes darting around as if they were searching for the nearest exit. At the same time, Bob, our resident Type B, was casually munching on snacks while creating what he lovingly referred to as alternative solutions, which, to our horror, involved replacing all our marketing flyers with pizza coupons because, as he put it, it'll attract the right audience. Meanwhile, our Type C team member was in a corner, analyzing every possible outcome with a seriousness that rivaled a detective solving a murder case. The juxtaposition of their reactions was like a stand-up comedy routine unfolding in real life, illustrating just how differently stressors can be perceived and handled. These situations remind us that stress doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. Instead, it can be a source of laughter, a bonding experience that highlights our differences. Understanding how we each respond to stress can give us insight into our behaviors and those of others around us, helping defuse tense scenarios with humor. The next time you feel the weight of stress crashing down, take a moment to observe how it affects those around you. It might just turn a trying situation into a shared moment of laughter. Because if you can't laugh at yourself and your stress response, what's the point? Finding your calm. Strategies for every personality type. When life throws a tantrum, it can feel like you're stuck in a never-ending episode of a reality show where everything goes wrong. Different personality types have various ways of coping, and recognizing this is the first step to finding your calm. For the analytical types, diving into a spreadsheet or creating a pros and cons list can be soothing. Numbers don't lie, and when emotions are overwhelming, logic is a comforting ally. If you're the creative type, perhaps writing poetry or painting could be an escape. The colors and words can help turn chaos into something beautiful. And let's not forget the social butterflies. For them, reaching out to friends for a mini therapy session can feel like taking a deep breath of fresh air. Just remember, there's no one-size-fits-all solution during a crisis. It's about finding what resonates with you. Self-care isn't just a buzzword, it's a crucial ingredient for emotional resilience. Just as you can't pour from an empty cup, you can't be your best self if you're running on fumes. For the introverts, self-care might mean cozying up with a good book and a cup of tea, while extroverts may thrive on dance parties and group outings. Whichever way you choose, prioritize activities that fill you up rather than drain you. Taking care of your mental health is as vital as eating your greens. This is the time to advocate for your needs and make self-care a non-negotiable part of your routine. Finding small moments in your day to reconnect with yourself can lead to lasting emotional resilience. At the end of the day, remember that it's okay to feel not okay sometimes. Allowing yourself to experience a full range of emotions will only make you stronger in the long run. Incorporating breathing exercises or mindfulness into your day, whether you're an overanalyzer or a free spirit, can help reset your brain. Start small. Even a few minutes of focused breathing can make a significant difference. Just think of it as giving your mind a little vacation. Finding your calm isn't a destination, but a continuous journey that evolves with you. Support systems. Who do you call when you're down? Every person has a unique way of dealing with tough times, and understanding the types of support systems that resonate with different personality types can be a game changer. For me, leaning into my close-knit circle of friends during rough patches has always been a reliable source of comfort and laughter. Some people might find solace in their families, gathering around the dinner table to share woes over mashed potatoes. Others might be the lone wolves, preferring to curl up with a book and a cup of tea, drawing strength from solitude. Each personality type tends to gravitate towards a specific kind of support, whether it's the bubbly optimist who keeps you laughing or the no-nonsense friend who gets straight to the point. Personally, I find a mix of both really works when I'm feeling down. One friend could crack a joke about my bad day, while another filters out my emotional ramblings into something sensible. It's like a comedic therapy session that reminds me I'm not alone. Embracing the humor and seeking help is a crucial step we often overlook. Let's face it, asking for support isn't always the easiest thing. But when you finally swallow your pride and reach out, sometimes it turns into a hilarious romp worth recounting. Picture this. I called my friend in tears about a mishap at work and ended up laughing so hard I nearly cried again when they showed up at my door wearing a superhero cape, declaring they were here to save the day. The moment turned my despair into a hilarious memory that I can't help but chuckle about whenever I think of it. It's essential to know when to reach out. The right support can turn a murky situation into a light-hearted tale. Remember, it's perfectly okay to need help, and even better to find the humor in those moments. Life is too short to dwell endlessly in sadness when you can reframe those experiences into laughter. Cultivating a strong support network can significantly influence how we handle our struggles. It's key to not only recognize your go-to people in hard times, but also understand when to utilize their unique strengths. Try to maintain open communication with friends and family so they know when you're in a pinch. As a practical tip, think of creating a support system contact list that includes a mix of personality types, from the jokesters to the serious problem solvers. You never know when you might need that superhero cape, or perhaps a warm cup of comforting tea to get you through the day. Chapter 11. My journey of self-discovery through personality tests. The first test, a revelation or a joke. My first encounter with a personality test was nothing short of a wild ride. It started on a lazy Sunday afternoon when a friend, brimming with enthusiasm, insisted I take this quirky little quiz that claimed to reveal the depths of my soul. Armed with a blend of skepticism and curiosity, I sat down, rolling my eyes at the thought of a few multiple-choice questions encapsulating the complexity of my being. Certainly, these things were just amusing gimmicks, right? Yet, as I channeled my inner lab rat and answered questions about my favorite snacks and how I felt about group outings, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of intrigue. Could these seemingly trivial inquiries actually have some merit? I was about to find out. After completing the test, I anticipated a profound analysis of my personality, maybe even a mystical revelation of my true self. Instead, I was greeted with results that left me laughing in disbelief. The analysis claimed I was an exuberant extrovert who thrived in chaos, a title so far removed from my self-image that it felt like I had stepped into an alternate universe. Me, an extrovert? That was a notion as foreign to me as skydiving on a Tuesday. I mean, sure, I enjoy a fun group outing occasionally, but the thrill of a packed party? Not my scene. My idea of excitement was a good book and a warm cup of tea, preferably in the comfort of my pajamas. The disparity between the test results and my reality was so stark that it struck me as a cosmic joke, one that had me chuckling for days. This amusing experience with the personality test made me reflect on the complexities of human nature and self-perception. It raised the question of how often we allow others, or even a set of questions, to define who we are. Self-image is a tricky thing. It's constructed from our experiences, choices, and how we interpret the world around us. Personality tests, despite their humorous shortcomings, can occasionally nudge us towards insights about ourselves, even if they miss the mark entirely. So, if ever tempted to partake in one of these whimsical quizzes, approach it with an open mind, but remember to take the results with a pinch of salt. In the end, no test can truly encapsulate the vast, winding road that is your individuality. Odyssey of self-exploration, from confusion to clarity. My journey into the world of personality tests started with a cocktail of curiosity and confusion. I remember being excited when I first encountered the concept. Everyone seemed to have a type or a number that summarized their entire personality. Naturally, I thought this would unlock the secrets to understanding myself and others. However, after taking a handful of tests, I was left with more questions than answers. One moment, I was a fiery extrovert, and the next I found myself branded as a brooding introvert. It felt much like trying to make sense of a Rubik's Cube in a dimly lit room, twisting and turning with no clear path forward. I had to chuckle at the absurdity of it. How could I possibly fit into these neat little boxes when I was essentially a chaotic whirlwind of thoughts, emotions, and sometimes whimsical hobbies, like knitting scarves for my pet cat? Yet, as I waded through a sea of personality archetypes and keywords like sensitive and judgmental, I began to experience sudden moments of clarity. One particular test hit me like a bolt of lightning. It labeled me a mediator, a fun way of saying I had a penchant for daydreaming instead of getting stuff done. In that instant, rather than feeling pigeonholed, a relief washed over me. I realized that this wasn't just a box to confine me, but rather a lens through which I could better understand the tangled web of my behaviors. The laughter came when I shared my experiences with friends. We took a night filled with snacks and personality quizzes. The results were comedic gold. One friend, self-designated as the wise owl, turned out to be a spoiled cat, and we couldn't stop laughing. This adventure led to deeper conversations, where our differences became a source of engagement rather than frustration. In reflection, humor was just as vital to the journey as the insights I gained. It's easy to get lost in the negativity of self-discovery, but a playful approach reminds us that we're all beautifully weird in our ways. Life doesn't come with a manual, and expecting to neatly classify ourselves can cause more confusion than clarity. Instead of seeing my personality in rigid terms, I started treating it as a malleable sculpture. It shifts, molds, and sometimes even surprises me. The next time you find yourself lost in the labyrinth of labels, remember to center your exploration with a light heart. Grab a friend, take a silly quiz, and let laughter pave the way to understanding. After all, embracing the humor in our self-discovery journeys can turn confusion into delightful clarity. Testing your friends, a fun group activity. Testing friends can sound a little strange at first, but let me assure you, it's a great way to bring everyone closer together in a light-hearted and entertaining way. Imagine gathering your group and firing up an array of personality quizzes to see who fits the life of the party mold or who might secretly be a philosopher at heart. This isn't about serious assessments or existential conclusions. It's all in good fun. The laughs and banter that arise when friends learn about each other's character quirks add an extra layer of connection. Plus, it gives us a chance to dive into discussions about what the results really mean, or how wildly wrong they are. There was that one time when we decided to take a popular personality test during a potluck dinner. Everyone sat around the table with plates piled high, and as we compared results, it became a free-for-all. My friend Sam, who prides himself on being the pragmatic realist of the group, turned out to be classified as the inventive dreamer. You can imagine the uproar that caused. He was quick to point out that the test was flawed, yet the more he protested, the more we teased him in good spirit. It spiraled into a debate on whether he was truly dreamy or just really bad at following instructions. Each person's results sparked hilarious stories and unexpected revelations that left us giggling long into the night. This wasn't just a random activity. It ended up solidifying our bonds through shared laughter and unexpected insights into our personalities. The key takeaway from these amusing experiences is that people love to learn more about themselves and each other, often in the most unexpected ways. The next time your group gathers, consider diving into a lighthearted personality assessment. Not only will it provide material for endless jokes, but it will also encourage deeper connections and conversations that you never realized were possible. Remember, sometimes the best relationships are built on laughter and a shared understanding of each other's quirks. Chapter 12. The Modern Personality Trap. Social Media's Role. Likes, shares, and personality types. The new currency. In today's digital age, our online lives feel like an extension of ourselves, shaping how we perceive not just the outer world, but also our own identities. Social media platforms are relentless mirrors, reflecting our interests, beliefs, and yes, our personality types. When I post a picture of my cat expertly positioned atop a pile of freshly laundered clothes, I'm not just sharing a moment. I'm curating an online brand that communicates a message about who I am. And let's be real, this messaging can be surprisingly nuanced. Are you the witty friend who shares clever memes, the inspirational guru with motivational quotes, or perhaps the adventurous spirit who posts endless travel photos? These little likes and shares accumulate like currency, subtly pushing us toward a point where we start defining our self-worth by by the feedback we receive. The validation becomes addictive, and before we know it, we're dressing our profiles in personality traits like they're the latest fashion trends. Michelangelo sculpting our digital selves with every tap on our screens. It's almost absurd when you think about it. Have we reduced our personalities to a series of hashtags and emojis? The very notion of personal branding makes me chuckle, as if my digestive system has become a brand ambassador for overpriced probiotics because I posted a picture of my breakfast smoothie once. We see people spouting off personality quizzes as though they were gospel, furiously clicking to find out if they're more introverted owl or extroverted lion. The real comedy, however, lies in the fact that these labels often don't encompass the beautiful messiness of our real selves. It's like walking into a party where half the guests are dressed as unicorns and the other half as hammers, all in an effort to find out who gets the most likes on their costumes. So why don't we share the awkward moments, the flubbed speeches, and the catastrophes just as passionately as our filtered brunch snaps? If only we could fast forward past the facade and get to the good stuff, the quirks that make us us, rather than the polished versions that seem to dominate our feeds. Amid this digital chaos, a practical tip emerges. Take social media less seriously. Try to share authentic moments that represent the quirky, flawed human being you are rather than a curated best self. This doesn't mean tossing your brand into the digital dumpster. It means allowing authenticity to shine through. You might just find that the likes and shares you seek may not come from a carefully crafted image, but rather from the genuine absurdity that makes life worth sharing. Remember, there's a unique freedom in not being an Instagram influencer with 10 million followers. Your real connections may lie just a post away, waiting for the moment when you let your guard down and share something raw and relatable. The filter bubble, how your personality shapes your online world. Algorithms are like those friends who only remember the part of you that they like. If you tend to click on articles about cats and conspiracy theories, your feed will soon be filled with nothing but fluffy felines and questionable claims. This isn't just chance. It's the algorithm doing what it was designed to do. Keep you engaged by feeding your preferences. But here's the twist. While this can feel comforting, it also traps you in a bubble that reinforces your biases. Let's say you're a skeptic. The more you read about how the moon landing was faked, the more likely you are to see and share similar content. You end up in a vortex where your reality is validated but also warped. It's akin to being surrounded by a choir singing your praises while tuning out any dissent. The result? A narrow view of the world and a self-inflicted echo chamber that spins your beliefs tighter and tighter. A life in the filter bubble can be like attending a party where everyone brings their favorite snack, and somehow the only thing on the table is guacamole. While guac is delicious, wouldn't you want a little variety? Escaping the filter bubble becomes crucial for enriching our perspectives. Imagine stumbling upon a viewpoint you never considered, a blog from a random stranger in a different country, or a podcast discussing the psychology behind your latest obsession. These diverse inputs can be jarring at first, but they challenge your thinking and help you see the bigger picture. Trying new platforms or engaging with different communities can feel like breaching the walls of your digital fortress. It may be uncomfortable, but that discomfort can lead to growth. Sometimes, the best way to break out is to actively seek differences. So, step outside your comfort zone, follow a quirky page, or read an article that sounds ridiculous. You might just find a thought or idea that resonates in ways you never imagined. Once you recognize how your online world shapes your view, the next step is easy. Diversify your digital diet. Instead of clicking on that curated content that feels good but limits you, challenge yourself to explore something unfamiliar. You might be surprised by the new conversations you spark or the unexpected friendships you forge along the way. Authenticity versus persona. Are we losing ourselves? Navigating the social media landscape feels a bit like walking a tightrope while juggling flaming swords. On one side lies the seductive allure of crafting a polished persona, tailored for likes and shares. On the other, the nagging voice that questions whether this digital mask reflects our true self. I often find myself caught in this tug-of-war. It seems so simple to post that perfectly staged brunch photo, drink in the air, golden lighting illuminating every pixel. But then I remember the chaos of the actual morning. Coffee spilled on my shirt, a whole debate with my cat over my breakfast choices, and let's not even get into the hair situation. Is anyone really that put together? Or are we all just professionals at faking it? The pressure to present Instagram-ready moments can sometimes drown out our genuine experiences, making us question who we truly are beneath the curated layers. Peering into the pitfall of presenting a persona, I can't help but imagine young minds caught in this cycle. Those highlight reels can warp our understanding of reality, making being perfect seem not just possible but necessary. And what about the long-term effects? Embracing an exaggerated self can lead to disconnection, leaving us scrambling to remember the last time we felt real emotions instead of the ones meticulously filtered for the gram. We begin to embody our online avatars rather than our lived experiences, developing an inner critic that feeds on comparison. At least, that's what I tell myself every time I find myself scrolling through another perfect vacation snapshot, my mind filled with thoughts about how I'm not experiencing life in a similar curated manner. But here's the kicker. Personality portrayals can trap us in an identity crisis where authenticity struggles to find oxygen. As convoluted as this journey is, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, or more accurately, it's a glowing smartphone screen. Embracing our messy, unfiltered selves can be liberating. Instead of scrolling through curated joy, consider sharing the chaos, the burnt cupcakes and laundry still piled from 2 weeks ago. Those are the moments that resonate with others. When we let go of the pressure to be perfect or to showcase every second of our lives in pristine form, we create a genuine connection with both ourselves and our audience. So, next time you're tempted to post a picture-perfect moment, think about sharing the unfiltered version. You might just discover that the most authentic moments are the ones that remind us we're all beautifully imperfect. Chapter 13. Future of Personality. Will we change? The constants and variables of personality in the 21st century. Exploring the traits of personality that remain constant despite shifting societal norms and realities reveals an interesting paradox. For example, extroversion has always been associated with sociability and charisma, traits that haven't waned even in the age of digital communication. I remember attending a party where everyone was glued to their phones, but the extroverts still managed to create magnetic circles of laughter. They draw people in, regardless of how the world around them evolves. Similarly, the unwavering traits of conscientiousness, such as reliability and diligence, have stood the test of time, strengthening relationships at work and in personal life. It's funny how these traits seem like ancient currencies in a world fueled by trends and tweets, yet they hold value that feels almost timeless. As for the evolving nuances that emerge as culture changes, the landscape is certainly transforming. For instance, in my experience, the concept of identity has quite a few shades nowadays. This fluidity can be both liberating and confusing. It seems like every week there's a new preferred way to label ourselves, from gender identities to professional roles. In my friend group, we find ourselves navigating this maze, sometimes stumbling over what to call each other or what to expect from a friend who's redefining their persona. It's hilarious to witness the occasional mix-up and the good-natured debates over what's politically correct now versus what was just fine yesterday. Society is a river flowing with currents of progress, directing our personalities in ways we never anticipated, giving us the chance to reinvent ourselves. Yet, amidst this flux, some fundamental aspects of our character, like humor and compassion, seem to be more prized than ever, cutting across cultures and allowing us to connect in ways no amount of algorithm-driven recommendations can replicate. A useful tip for navigating this landscape is to embrace both the constants and variables of personality in your life. Perhaps take a moment to reflect on your unchanging traits and how they impact your relationships. Then, stay open to the shifting norms around you, allowing them to enrich your understanding of self and others. This balance will not only enhance your interactions, but also offer a richer, more authentic expression of who you are in this ever-evolving world. Are we evolving? A look at personality trends. Analyzing contemporary trends in personality reveals much about how we navigate the modern landscape fraught with challenges. Have you ever wondered why your friend can slide effortlessly into any social scene while you can barely muster the courage to try a new coffee shop? Social anxiety has morphed into a prevalent theme, driven by the constant connectivity and surveillance of our digital lives. It's like being under a spotlight that never turns off, amplifying insecurities and fostering a desire for validation. We craft our online personas, often portraying perfection while hiding behind filters, which is a far cry from authenticity. This complex dance may make it easier to form relationships, but harder to build genuine connections. And let's not forget the rise of adulting as a trending topic. From embracing procrastination to redefining what being responsible means, today's young adults juggle expectations while navigating life in their own quirky ways. This blending of self-deprecating humor and relatable struggles speaks volumes about how we adapt to societal pressures while trying to remain true to ourselves. As we consider how evolving technologies may influence future personalities, the questions become even more compelling. Will we become more empathetic as we connect with people across the globe, or will our emotional intelligence erode from constant screen time? Picture a world where virtual reality becomes a standard part of daily life. Will we lose the art of face-to-face conversation, replacing it with emoji-laden interactions? Will our ability to forge emotional connections wilt in the face of artificial intelligence that can craft the perfect text message, but lacks the warmth of human touch? Then there's the conundrum of personalization. Algorithms learn our preferences and shape our choices, but do they also shape who we are? As we become what we listen to, watch, and swipe through, one must ponder whether we are truly evolving as individuals or merely adjusting to accommodate a predefined mold. The future might see us toggle between versions of ourselves, the work persona, the leisure persona, and a hyper-curated version designed specifically for social media. It's a modern identity crisis wrapped in a technological blanket, and the way we respond will be critical. The exploration of these evolving trends sparks an important tip. Let yourself be a little messy. Embracing imperfections not only cultivates genuine connections, but also helps us navigate this whirlwind of change. Allow your personality to shine in its full spectrum, and rely on shared laughter and mutual understanding to build bonds that stand the test of time, even amid the chaotic currents of our technological age. Future predictions. Personality Types 2.0. Imagining what personality types might evolve into over the next few decades is a bit like trying to predict what our favorite snacks will look like 20 years from now. Will we have a personality type P, known for an obsessive passion for planning? I can see it now. People wearing color-coded outfits matched to their spreadsheets, greeting each other with a token pie chart. Maybe there will be personality type 1, who thrives on instant gratifications and manifests their identity through social media filters, with a penchant for shimmying into casual conversations about animations that won't load. The landscape could be dotted with remote work ninjas, creativity junkies, or even eco-warriors who see trees, their soulmates, in everything. It's a delightful mess of potential identities, teasing at the stitches that tie them all together. Now, let's take a moment to introduce a dash of humor into this wild world of personality evolution. Picture this. A new personality trend is sweeping the globe. It's called the Personality Type Couch Potato 2.0, where individuals not only advocate for lounging on the couch, but also celebrate it as an art form. These folks would attend workshops on optimal remote control usage while sipping kale smoothies, which they insist are best enjoyed from the comfort of their favorite recliner. They might even take online classes in advanced napping techniques, complete with certified experts who guide them through the intricate nuances of pillow alignment. Is anyone else chuckling at the thought of hypothetical group therapy sessions dedicated to guilt-free binge-watching marathons? Ultimately, as we explore these whimsical possibilities of personality types, it's important to remember the value of flexibility. While the world might change dramatically, the core of what makes us human, our quirks, our passions, and yes, even our eccentricities will remain. Embrace your idiosyncrasies and those of others. Playfully ponder what the future could hold, and don't shy away from trying out new ways of expressing who you are. After all, the best way to stay ahead in this evolving landscape of personalities is to remain adaptable, curious, and above all, a little bit silly. Chapter 14. Practical Applications. How to use personality to your advantage. Dating with personality in mind. Finding your match. Understanding personality types can turn dating into a fascinating adventure rather than a frustrating ordeal. Think about it. We all have different quirks and traits that make us who we are. When you take the time to learn about the various personality types, be it the outgoing extrovert, the sensitive introvert, or the adventurous free spirit, you can better appreciate what makes each person tick. Knowing your personality type and that of your date allows for clearer communication and sets the stage for a more meaningful connection. Instead of floundering through what feels like endless small talk, You can dive deeper into topics that genuinely matter to both of you, resulting in a more fulfilling experience. For example, if you're an organized planner and you find yourself on a date with a spontaneous thrill seeker, understanding these differences can help you navigate the potential mismatches without it feeling like an awkward chess match. Now, let's shift gears and talk about some mishaps that this newfound knowledge could help avoid. I once went on a date with someone whose profile screamed adventurous soul, which to me translated into skydiving and spontaneous road trips. Imagine my surprise when adventurous turned out to mean binge-watching every season of a certain reality TV show. We spent 2 hours discussing the intricate details of their favorite characters' lives, rather than hopping on a plane to a tropical paradise. I'll never forget that realization as I nodded along, silently lamenting my life choices. This mismatch was a humorous lesson. Understanding that not all people identify with their labels can save you from such steep drops in excitement levels. Having these experiences in mind makes it clear. Personality types not only help us avoid mismatches, but can soften the blow of those awkward moments that we all inevitably face. So, as you head out into the vast world of dating, keep that personality lens handy. Ask questions that get to the heart of who someone is rather than skimming the surface. You'll not only enjoy a more engaging conversation, but you'll likely avoid some of those dreaded date faux pas. And if you do find yourself in a laughable situation, remember the silver lining. It makes for a great story to share with friends later on. So, embrace the quirks, learn about yourself, and don't be afraid to laugh your way through the journey. Parenting challenges. Understanding your child's type. Understanding that each child has a unique personality type transforms the way we approach parenting. For instance, are you nurturing an introspective thinker or a spontaneous firecracker? These differences profoundly impact our interactions and their development. When I was trying to connect with my quiet daughter, I realized that pushing her to express herself openly was like trying to squeeze toothpaste back into the tube. Instead, I learned to create opportunities for her to share thoughts at her own pace, prompting thoughtful discussions over arts and crafts rather than sitting down drills. It's about recognizing their intrinsic nature and adapting our parenting styles accordingly. Identifying these types allows us to navigate through tantrums and teenage angst with a bit more grace and a lot less frustration. Injecting humor can lighten the load of parenting while keeping our children's personality types in mind. Picture this. My son, a natural entertainer, once turned a simple family dinner into a stand-up comedy routine with delicious food as his props. Instead of insisting he eat his greens quietly, I decided to embrace his performance mode, encouraging him to share jokes between bites. We struck a delightful balance. He finished his plate, and we gained a few more laugh lines. Blending our understanding of personality with laughter not only eases parenting struggles, but also fosters deeper connections. It creates an environment where children feel seen and encouraged to thrive while keeping us, the parents, from taking ourselves too seriously. Being adaptable is key when parenting kids with different personality types. I've learned that being rigid in our expectations often leads to unnecessary power struggles. Instead, I focus on flexibility. One morning I might negotiate a deal with my ambitious child about homework and rewards, while the next, I might need to show empathy to my sensitive one after a playground fiasco. It's a constant balancing act, but with a sprinkle of creativity and humor, we can navigate these parenting puzzles more effortlessly. Remember, the goal is not to transform our children into replicas of an ideal persona, but to nurture their unique spark while enjoying the ride. Embracing their individuality fosters resilience and nurtures their strengths, laying the groundwork for beautiful connections as they grow. Work smarter, not harder, leveraging personality in professional settings. Recognizing different personality types in the workplace can be a game changer for enhancing team collaboration and productivity. When you understand that not everyone ticks the same way, you're halfway to creating harmony among your colleagues. Imagine a team where a meticulous planner is paired with a spontaneous risk-taker. If you let them clash without guidance, you might end up with a chaotic project timeline. However, if you acknowledge their differences and guide them to complement each other, you can unlock a powerful synergy. Each personality brings unique strengths to the table, which can enhance creativity and problem-solving when leveraged correctly. It's like a potluck dinner where everyone contributes their best dish. You end up with a feast instead of a bland meal. By embracing the diverse personalities in your team, you create an environment where everyone feels valued, leading to higher morale and productivity. Let me take you back to an office Halloween party where the personality types were on full display. There was Sam, the meticulous planner, who arrived 15 minutes early wearing a handcrafted detective costume, complete with a magnifying glass. He had color-coded the candy bowl. Then there was Jen, the spontaneous creative, who breezed in just as the party was starting, dressed as a giant cupcake, complete with frosting that mysteriously dripped everywhere. As the day went on, Sam was focused on every detail of the party's organization, while Jen was slathering frosting on unsuspecting coworkers. That scene epitomized how personality plays out in our workplaces. If you looked at it through a rigid lens, you'd see chaos. But when understood and accepted, you notice how each contributed to making the day memorable. Sam kept the logistics smooth, while Jen ensured their colleagues had a laugh. Who would have thought a cupcake costume could be so impactful? Embracing your office's unique mix of personalities can lead to some incredible outcomes if you keep it light and engaging. One practical approach to leveraging these personality differences is to host simple team-building exercises focused on personality types. Start with a get-to-know-you game where team members share their quirks and work preferences. This opens avenues to better understanding and reduces the chances of unnecessary friction. Everyone wants to feel seen and appreciated, and this can lead to remarkable growth in communication and collaboration. It's a straightforward method to ensure that each personality type feels empowered, creating a supportive atmosphere that encourages everyone to thrive. Chapter 15. The Grand Finale, Embracing Your Unique Self. The Beauty of Diversity, Celebrating All Types. Every person you meet is like a different color in the palette of life, each hue bringing its own special flair to the canvas we call society. The beauty of personality diversity enriches our experiences in ways we often overlook. Consider that, just like music, each personality type contributes to a larger symphony. Some are loud and exuberant like a brass band, while others are whisper-soft yet profound like a delicate string quartet. Embracing these differences can transform the ordinary into something extraordinary, allowing us to form deeper relationships and understand each other better. For example, a free-spirited adventurer brings spontaneity to the meticulous planner's life, creating a thrilling juxtaposition that can lead to unforgettable memories and personal growth. It's fascinating how varying perspectives can spark creativity and challenge our thinking, helping us learn more about ourselves and those around us. Encouraging readers to embrace their individuality can often feel like trying to convince a cat to take a bath. Messy at best, futile at worst. However, viewing our quirks through a humorous lens can make this process a lot less intimidating. I recall a dear friend, the quintessential perfectionist, who once fretted over the tiniest detail in his carefully balanced spreadsheet. With a grin, I reminded him that even the most chaotic of moments, like a toddler's messy crayon masterpiece, can still be appreciated for their creativity. Letting go of strict definitions allows us to celebrate not just the parts of ourselves that fit neatly into societal molds, but also those eccentricities that make us gloriously unique. Life is infinitely more engaging when we allow ourselves the grace to be wonderfully imperfect. So, step outside your comfort zone, wear that quirky sweater, or tell that joke that only you find funny, because it's these little acts of self-acceptance that can brighten your day and inspire others to do the same. Ultimately, the true art of embracing diversity lies in recognizing that every personality type has its own strengths and weaknesses. We should seek not to label, but to appreciate and learn from one another. Try approaching your relationships with a sense of curiosity rather than judgment. Consider how a colleague's impatient nature can motivate you to find solutions more quickly, or how a friend's laid-back attitude can introduce you to a more relaxed perspective on life. As you navigate through these interactions, remember that everyone is fighting their own battles, and that empathy goes a long way. Embrace the beauty that comes from different viewpoints and remain open-minded. A practical tip? Each day, challenge yourself to learn something new about a person whose personality starkly contrasts with your own. You might just find a friend in the unlikeliest of places. Growth mindset, how to keep evolving. Embracing the philosophy of lifelong growth is like choosing to be on a roller coaster that never quite reaches the finish line. Imagine thinking of yourself as a work in progress, constantly adding new colors and textures to your personality. It's not just about achieving goals, it's about who you become in the process. When you adopt a growth mindset, You open yourself up to a world where failure is not something to fear, but a crucial stepping stone. Picture trying to learn the ukulele and failing spectacularly at the first chord. If you cling to a fixed mindset, that struggle feels like an insurmountable barrier. But approach it with a growth perspective, and that same struggle translates into a hilarious story about your epic, albeit disastrous, jam sessions with friends. Every mishap adds a layer to your character, and that ridiculous experience morphs into a cherished memory that fuels your drive to keep trying. I have my share of cringeworthy tales from my quest for self-improvement. One time, I decided to train for a half marathon despite hardly being able to run to the fridge without gasping for air. As I hit the pavement for the first time, I felt more like a malfunctioning wind-up toy than a graceful runner. My initial attempts looked like an awkward ballet, arms flailing, feet stumbling, and panting like I had just sprinted from a bear. But as I kept at it, laughing at my own struggles, I saw improvements. Each run felt a little easier, and I quickly learned to celebrate small victories. Completing my route without a lung loss incident felt monumental. Those experiences turned into fuel for my growth, reinforcing the idea that even when you're just flailing about, progress is very much happening. Sharing these stories is essential because it flicks a switch in readers' minds. They start looking at their own stumbles as part of a comical yet meaningful journey rather than a series of unfortunate events. Learning to embrace the awkward stages is where the real fun begins. The next time you try something new, remember that it's okay to look silly or fail outright. Think of your growth path as a series of sitcom episodes. You might be the protagonist fumbling through life, but every misadventurous plot twist adds to the depth of your character. Share those tales, not just of triumph, but of hilarious defeat too, for they serve as inspiration for others. So, as you navigate your journey of self-evolution, keep in mind that growth happens outside of your comfort zone, ideally while wearing mismatched socks and a goofy grin. With every misstep, you're crafting a story worth telling, proving that life is not just about reaching extraordinary heights, but about how delightfully offbeat the journey can be. Parting thoughts, laughter, love, and life lessons. Reflecting on the journey we've taken through the fascinating world of personality types, there's wisdom that stands out like a neon sign in a dark alley. We've delved into the intricate ways our personalities shape our lives and relationships, revealing layers of ourselves that often remain hidden. Each type we explored added a colorful brushstroke to the canvas of our existence, showing how we can learn not only about ourselves, but also about others. Isn't it remarkable how knowing somebody's personality type can enhance understanding and compassion? The key insights gained remind us that we're all stitched together in this intricate quilt of humanity, where love, laughter, and the occasional clash of tempers create a rich tapestry of life. Without these differences, the mundane would take over, leaving no room for growth or playful banter. As we bid farewell to this chapter of exploration, let's not forget the humor that accompanies our unique identities. Picture this: you're at a party, and the awkward silence lingers, everyone twiddling their thumbs. Then, a free-spirited type bursts in with a whimsical joke that fills the room with laughter, lighting up faces and breaking down walls. Embracing our quirks makes life more vibrant, just like how adding pineapple to pizza sparks passionate debates. Yes, I'm one of those who believe in culinary adventures. Remember, life is far too short to take everything seriously. So, take that leap, share a laugh or two, or even wear mismatched socks to celebrate your uniqueness. It's the little things that make life joyful. Each personality type brings its own flavor to the table, creating a unique banquet of human experience. But most importantly, love yourself, laughter, and every endearing oddity that makes you you. When embracing your true self, it's helpful to remember that life's not a straight path. It's more like a meandering river, flowing in unexpected directions, yet leading to breathtaking views. Each twist and turn brings lessons that shape who we are. Next time you feel pressure to fit into someone else's mold, remember the joy of being a unique puzzle piece in a beautiful collection. Discover what makes you laugh, what makes your heart race, and cherish those aspects like a prized possession. If you have an eccentric hobby or a bizarre collection, flaunt it. Let those traits shine bright, and you'll find that the people who truly matter will appreciate you for who you are. So here's a little nugget. Embrace each quirk, nurture your uniqueness, and spread joy wherever you go. Laughter and love are always the best life lessons. As we reach the final chapter of this journey, I hope you've come to see personality types not as rigid labels, but as living, breathing aspects of our humanity. Each of us is a beautiful blend of traits shaped by biology, experiences, and choices, a complex masterpiece that deserves appreciation. Understanding personality is more than self-discovery. It's a tool for empathy, connection, and growth. By seeing ourselves and others through a lens of curiosity and compassion, we can bridge gaps, resolve conflicts, and strengthen the bonds that make life meaningful. So what's next? Take what you've learned and bring it into your conversations, your relationships, and your moments of self-reflection. Use these insights to celebrate your strengths, embrace your challenges, and connect more deeply with the world around you. Growth doesn't end here. It evolves with every interaction and every step you take toward understanding. Thank you for joining me on this adventure through the human mind and heart. May this journey continue to inspire you to connect, learn, and love more fully. Until next time, remember, your personality is just one chapter of a much larger story, and the best is yet to come.